state on all of North America because it never froze.
All right, guys, we're on in 40 seconds. Big shout out to Jay Crave Dog. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate that. Chris Mo, good to have you here. Thank you. And Sandra, Sassy Sandra Piper is back, everyone. Make sure you give her a round of applause. We're going to get going in about 20 seconds. A great way to support this show, hi Mike L., is to hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you are new. We're trying to get 15,000 subscribers by May 24th. That's what I want for my birthday. You can get your T-shirts at facebook.com/the SOR Vault. We're going to get going here in 5 seconds, everyone. We're in for one hell of a show tonight. Here we go. British Columbia, to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, KPNL, and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, they are free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old baby the favor, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We are going high in the sky and deep into the dark part of the oceans tonight on Science Bob and Friends, as once a month we bring in Science Bob Mcgwier, and this time we have a great special guest for you, one of the top aviation authors in the world, Mr. James C. Goodall. They're going to take us on a journey into the known unknown. Not too much woo tonight, but plenty of intrigue into USOs, black projects that are hidden right under our very noses. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Science Bob, always a pleasure to have you here on Science Bob and Friends. How you doing?
I'm doing super well. I got my COVID-19 vaccine scheduled, and I shaved my face, so I'm doing well.
You know what? I'm actually quite disappointed. It's bittersweet for me because, you started growing that beard earlier in the year. You had a great thing going, but I'm happy to know, as sad as I am that you've shaved your beard, that you are going to be sending me that beard, and we're going to put it up in the beard collection of SOR headquarters.
It's in a baggie with your name on it.
Yes. All right. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our guest tonight, Mr. James Goodall? Bob?
Oh, Jim Goodall is just infamous in aerospace. He's did a lot of the early writing and got early photos of lots of experimental aircraft that were eventually Black Project aircraft flying in and out of Area 51. But a lot of people don't know that there are quite a few people that write about aerospace stuff. Not many with as much internal insight into these projects like SR-71 and the A-12 Oxcart and those kind of things. Jim is one of the premier, if not the premier author in the world about details on our nuclear submarine fleet. So, look, recently we've had all sorts of news about on the debrief and elsewhere and other people like the UAPX and the Nimitz guys about USOs, UAPs, and so forth. So we just thought we'd talk to Jim, have him tell us what he can about our nuclear submarine fleet and some of the stuff he is able to tell us, and we'll just talk to him about his great work. You got to see one of these submarine books. They're unreal. Jim, we're really glad you're here.
Well, I'm flattered with the description. I really am. I'm just a guy who likes machines, planes, trains, automobiles. I like fast cars. I used to like fast women, but they outrun me. But I've always been a pain in the butt, so to speak, to authority, and I've always tried to push the envelope. Never, when I was going to high school and when I was going to college, I absolutely hated term papers. I mean, with a passion. I don't care even if I'd liked the subject. And come April 15th of this year, that 2021, my 27th book will hit the bookshelves.
No way.
It's amazing.
So,
and they're highly technical. They're amazing, Jim.
Well, I'm my third volume on my 3-volume set, Los Angeles class, Volume 1. Volume 2 is Seawolf, Virginia class. And then Volume 3 is the Ohio boats, both the SSBN and the SSGN. Now, I've photographed internally and externally a C4 boat, a D5 boat, and now I'm just waiting for to get on an SSGN. The Ohio's been in refit now for a year and a half. The Georgia is in the Persian Gulf. Florida's probably in overhaul, and I don't know where in the hell the Michigan is. Last time I heard it was in Guam. So there's only
Jim,
4
I'll
boats.
tell you what, we're going to need you. Our audience, of course, knows nothing about submarines, so we're going to need you to tell us what you mean by those things. So that's kind of what Dave and I'll do, is poke at you and get you to explain these terms. So just so the audience is aware, I put up pictures of me taking a picture of the bow wake flowing over the bow of the USS Hampton, which is a Los Angeles class submarine that I spent a fair amount of time on. So I know some about the subject. I was a writer for, let's just say, an intelligence operation, and I was on there long enough to get a pin slammed into my chest. So anyway, it's a thing. I really, really enjoyed it. And so I'm anxious to hear those things you can tell us about all your great books. Dave?
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Jim, before we get into submarines here, I'd be remiss, and I want to ask this early because I know I'm going to forget it if I don't go down this path. But recently, a gentleman who is an avid outdoorsman and kind of a legend tracker found the secret crash site of an A-12 back during its secret days when nobody knew it was flying. Have you followed that story at all?
Well, yeah, I know Tom Hood is one of the guys, and then Peter Merlin is another one. I mean, you can probably fit them all in a minivan, but they especially Peter Merlin. He was one of the original Dreamland interceptors. Those of us went on the fence line at Tonopah Test Range and at Area 51. But I've read all the reports of finding the crash sites. I mean, it took Peter, almost 20 years to find Ken Collins' crash site just south of. My mind just went blank. Right at the Utah-Nevada border. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the town, but that's not important. But he found, and the nice thing about going for a Lockheed Skunk Works crash site are all the parts have I don't know if it's laser edged or whatever, but they all have part numbers that tell you exactly where in the airplane that part comes from. So if it's just a bent widget, you're not sure what it is, but you can, if the part number is on there, you can tell if it's on the right or left side of the fuselage or the wing, the wing station by the inch. It's just he's really, really good at it. And see, Tom Hood lost a pickup truck trying to find Walt Ray's crash site, A-12. He's the one that they modified his ejection seat, and when he ejected, it jammed up. He ran out of fuel. They had a real bad leak. And
Jim,
he never left the seat.
you mean Jackpot?
Pardon? No, not pardon?
The name of the town, Jackpot?
No, I think I can't remember exactly where. No, he was near Pinoche is where he crashed.
Got it.
And that's the one that that one, I think Tom LaHood lost a pickup truck in a wash. All of a sudden, had a rainstorm, and I think his truck was totaled. But I'm not sure. I haven't talked with Tom in seems like forever. At least not this century. So yeah, I'm familiar with all the recovery or going to the crash sites, and it's really fascinating, especially when these things weren't supposed to exist, and the only way, like Peter has done, is he takes all the photographs that he can of the crash site that were official photographs, and then he goes where he thinks it is, and he's holding the photographs up, trying to find the same view. And if he can find the same view of the mountains in the background, he'll just start going, heading towards there until he comes to the crash site. So he really got it down to a science, and I applaud him for it.
All
when
right.
he first told me he was
Go ahead, Jim.
Go on. When Peter first told me he was an aviation archaeologist, I sort of, yeah, sure, okay. But he really is. I mean, he really documents what he has, and I don't know if he's done a lot of it, in recent years, but when he was doing it, he sure did a heck of a job.
So Jim, look, I think we probably these are great stories and exactly what our audience wants to hear. But I bet there are people in the audience that don't know who you are like Dave and I do. Give us the Jim story, your early life, and how you got into this.
Okay, I'm a third generation San Franciscan, and I apologize for that. My grandfather, James Raymond Goodall Sr., my dad, Junior, and me, James C. Goodall, we were all three born at Letterman Hospital in the Presidio. And I grew up initially in San Jose up until I was about 5. And when we lived in San Jose, what got me interested in airplanes, when we lived in San Jose, it was summertime, or it was still light, and I'd already gone to bed. And my dad came in the bedroom, and he said, "I don't know what's coming, but you got to see it." So we went outside, and all you could hear is this grinding. I mean, it was almost an evil type of roar, engine roar, and it was massive. And over the Coast Mountains heading to Travis Air Force Base were not one, not two, but 24 Condor B-36s. And that just burnt in my 5-year-old brain that, oh, you love airplanes, and you love machines. Fast forward, moved to the Mountain View, Los Altos area, which is middle of Silicon Valley today. Back then it was known for fruits and nuts, the type that grew in trees, not the two-legged types. And my best friend's dad was base commander at Moffett Field Naval Air Station. And we were always referred to as Captain Smith's son and that friend of his. And Danny, I went to Moffett. I was a pin boy at the bowling alley there. But Danny said, now this is 1953, 54 time frame, maybe 55. He said, that's a long time ago, by the way, those are wondering. He said, hey, there's something cool in the big hangar. So everybody knew us. Like I say, we were that Captain Smith's son and that friend of his. So we went into the big hangar. In the far end, to the north end, towards the bay, there was an area that was cordoned off and just said, keep out, and had curtains. And Danny said, this is cool. You got to see it. There was no guard. We went in, got it behind the curtains, and there is the still secret XF-104 Starfighter. It had been in the transonic tunnel at Ames. It wasn't NASA back then; it was NACA. But you're looking at this beautiful polished aluminum rocket with a man in it. And Danny said, "Get in the cockpit." I was in there yesterday. So I climb up and get in the cockpit. It was really cool. And closed the canopy, and it went click, click. And I'm sitting there for about a minute, and I said, well, I'm in a place that I shouldn't be. And even though I wasn't going to turn down the opportunity to sit in the cockpit, I was getting a little bit nervous. So I tried to open it up, and the lever's jammed. And I'm telling Danny, Danny says, can you unlatch it from the outside? Oh no, that's something screwed up. I said, oh my God. So we had to call Shore Patrol to get me out. And that was somewhere around 65 years ago, or a little bit longer. My butt still hurts. So that was the beginning of my love affair with Lockheed airplanes, Skunk Works airplanes. Fast forward, I went in the service in March of '62. I was a juvenile delinquent. The world doesn't have to know that, but I know it, so I might as well tell everybody. So I went in the Air Force, and I was stationed at Lowry Air Force Base in Denver, Colorado. And in middle of February 1964, I got a set of TDY orders, temporary duty orders, to go to Edwards Air Force Base for a 90-day PDY, temporary duty. And I was a communications specialist, and I specialized in telemetry and other stuff. So I get to Edwards, middle of February. It's in the desert. It's not bad. We had snow in Denver, so it was good to get away. But it gets really cold at night. And I was there to install equipment for ground-based telemetry for 3 programs: the YC-141 Starlifter, the XB-70 Valkyrie, and at the time a classified program. And we were all curious to what that classified program was. So the morning of, it was February 29th, which I believe was a Saturday, all of a sudden, all the fire alarms went off on the flight line. Either something crashed or something terrible happened. And that was 8 miles from where the barracks are. And my Dodge Power Wagon, I shared it with a couple other guys. They had keys as well, and it was gone. And there was no way I can get down there, and I couldn't figure out what it was. But it turned out that this was the day that the Blackbirds, the two Blackbirds, were coming from Area 51 to Edwards Air Force Base to continue their training and Category 1 testing, envelope expansion, so on and so forth. So it wasn't until March 10th, 1964, that I saw my first Blackbird. But on the day it came in, when they came in, they wanted to come in real quiet. So there was no flyby. It was straight in, landed, taxied right up to the Lockheed hangar, and they turned. Both airplanes were turned with their exhaust pointing towards the Lockheed hangar, and the engines were still running as they're doing their shutdown checklist. Well, the heat from 4 J-58s set off the deluge system in the hangar, almost drowned the Lockheed reps that are in there. And that's what all the commotion was on that Saturday morning when they came in. So fast forward to March 10th, I'd worked through a couple of weekends, and I had some what they call comp time because I had to work overtime, and there was a way to, they couldn't pay me overtime, so they give me time off. So I was taking a shuttle from Edwards to Hawthorne, California, which is the suburb of LA, and that's where Northrop had their headquarters. And it was a Piaggio. It was an Italian aircraft pusher type, executive type business aircraft. But I heard a roar on down the flight line, and there was dust and debris being blown across Rogers Dry Lake. So I went running down we're waiting for the shuttle plane. I went running down the flight line and looked towards the XB-70 test pad. And I thought at first was the X-15, but it was too big and the people were too small. And just about then they said, hey, we're loading the airplane. So I went running back up the flight line, and I get into on the right-hand side. And we took off down the taxiway, and we took off over Rogers Dry Lake, and we banked over this airplane. And I'm looking straight down on it. The world hasn't seen it at all, and they just shut down the engines, and they were towing a C-130 in front of it, so you have a visual representation of just how big that bugger was. I'm looking at it, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. And I have never been the same. So I was out until that following Monday morning. I'm at the shop. They hand me my work orders, Lockheed hangar. Oh boy! So I go in Lockheed hangar and I walk through a set of doors. I have my security badge on and everything. Not like it is today. And they're looking at me as the rear end of two blackbirds. Now this is I was 18 years old. This was just before my 19th birthday. I was beyond. I mean, I almost messed my pants. I was so excited to see this thing. And I spent the rest of the day in the hangar, and I probably could have gotten the job done in maybe an hour, but it took me all day. It was just to look around. You guys were working on it and doing stuff, and like I say, I've never been the same. Fast forward to August of 1989. I had 5 years in the Air Force, a 10-year break. I'm in the Minnesota Air Guard, and I get a phone call from a friend of mine, and we talked once a quarter for 25 years. And that person was Mr. Ben Rich, Kelly Johnson's right-hand man, and his replacement at the Skunk Works. And I don't know why I was on his good list. If I didn't call him, he called me. But in this August of '89, he calls me up and he said, Jim, says, I have it from the horse's mouth, the blackbirds aren't going to make it through Congress. If anybody can scrounge one, you can. I said, okay, so I'll start the ball rolling. I went to my boss, who was a two-star, and he said, General Schwab, I want to get a blackbird for our museum. And he starts laughing at me. I said, General, why don't you just give me the opportunity to fail? He said, all right, smarty. First of all, how are you going to justify it? And I said, I got that covered. And I said, how are you going to get it here? They're not flyable. I said, I have that covered as well. I said, what do you mean? I said, well, I called the Adjutant General for the state of New York, General Weaver. He was the Adjutant General for the New York Guard. And unlike active duty, guardsmen can violate the chain of command without too much penalty. So I'd called General Weaver's office. I think he was at Stewart Air Force Base there near, just up the Hudson River. And I said, like, the secretary answered the phone. I said, this is Sergeant Goodall with the 133rd. Is General Weaver available? He said, yeah, just a minute, Sarge. So General Weaver gets on. I said, General Weaver, this is Sergeant Goodall with the 133rd. Well, Sarge, what can I do for you? I said, I got a proposition. He said, what's that? I said, how would the New York Air Guard like to move the world's fastest airplane in a couple of your C-5s? And he stops for it seemed like forever. And he said, you mean the Blackbird? I said, yes, sir. He said, when you're ready, you call, we'll haul. So that part was taken care of. And General Schwab said, oh, well, okay. I said, you put together the justification. I will make sure it's properly formatted, and I will sign it. This is General. And I'll submit it to the Air Force Museum.
Jim, I'm going to get you to hold that story right there because we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We have Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob Mcgwier. Special guest tonight, aviation and U.S. submarine author James C. Goodall. Continuing next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, boys, we're clear.
Never worry about Jim having a good story.
I know.
It's great.
When I was young, I was so bashful. I couldn't talk in front of anybody. I'd wet my pants. But I got over that.
I love it.
And
I really do.
I was terrified of women too. I got over that too.
That's a plus.
And yes, it is. Yes, it is.
1 second here, guys. Razgriz, okay. Thank you for finding the show recently in that amazing super chat. A good Canadian kid you are, I see. Thank you so much. Wow. I'm pretty amazed. Thank you. Ooh, that one caught me off guard. All right, you guys could chat now. Sorry, I'll just shut up.
Okay. Yeah. You know, when I was, I let me step back. My mouth has always got me in trouble, but it's also got me in places that I would never have imagined. And this was evident even when I was, real little. But when I was in basic training at Lackland, my TI came up to me one day and he said, "Goodall," it was just in front of the whole squadron. He said, "Goodall, you have everything going for you, but your mouth." And I just laughed.
Not you. Not you.
Yeah.
When they wrote down the condition oppositional defiance disorder, you were the poster child.
Yeah. Right. I know. I was in the Pentagon for Desert Shield and Desert Storm at Guard Bureau. I spent half the time at Andrews, 25% of the time at the Ford Building in Alexandria, and the other rest of the time in the Pentagon. And I just, I don't know. I've always managed, to push the issue on almost anything I do. And I had, I've had general officers just scratch their head after confronting me about something, because when I step back, when I was at the Pentagon, I went to get my permanent Pentagon pass, and I had a flag on my security clearance. Now I had the same clearance as the wing commander, and his was above top secret, as was mine. And unfortunately, I never had an opportunity to see anything that was really, really secret. But I needed my permanent Pentagon pass, so I didn't have to go through the metal detectors and all the other crap you go through if you're just visiting every day. So I called up Pete Ames. He's executive director of special projects, and I called him up. I said, "Pete, this is Jim Goodall. Where you at?" He said, "5D 156. I said, "You available this afternoon?" He said, "Yeah, 1300. I said, "I'll be there." And walked in there at 1 o'clock, in uniform. At the time, I was in E6. And I rang. Nothing on that whole hallway, but one door in the middle. No name, just 5D 156. And the cipher lock, and there was a buzzer. So I hit the buzzer, and they opened the door, and I came in. And I said, "I'm Sergeant Goodall. I'm here to see Pete Ames." And I thought the woman her jaw was going to hit the table. I said, "Please sit down, and Mr. Ames will be with you shortly." And I had a parade of people coming through. "You want to see what Goodall looks like in person? Come here. Goodall, he's here." It was both uniform and people in business suits. And I was there about 15 minutes, and finally Pete was available, and we went round and round. I said, "You have me under investigation." I said, "No, I don't." I said, "No other entity has." "Well, I didn't like your F-117 book." And I said, "I sent you the manuscript before I sent it to the publisher. You didn't do a thing. I sent it to Ben Rich. He couldn't do a thing. I sent it to DOD. I never got a reply. So here you had your opportunity. Well, you have some stuff in there that's top secret special access." And I said, "You had access. You had the opportunity to do something about it, but you didn't. You're too fucking arrogant." And
guys, we got 30 seconds. We got 30 seconds here. Let me just quickly, Jim. You got 10 seconds. Tell the story.
Yeah, I went right up to his face and would put my thumb on my nose. I went. I said, "You know what bothers you? I'm not afraid of you." And I turned around and left.
Okay.
By the time I got back to,
hold on, guys. Hold on. Hey, big thank you to new listener Raz Grizz and Cherry Pepsi Mike for the super chats tonight. It's a great way to support this show. Here we go, guys. of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us from the frozen Canadian tundra at SOR headquarters. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Tonight we continue on with Science Bob and Friends. Dr. Bob Mcgwier is here along with special guest James Goodall, and I think you want to get into some submarines there, Bob.
So, Jim, let's. How did you get interested in submarines? I mean, you just decided one day it was one of the neatest gadgets ever and jumped in.
All my friends, airplane friends, saying, "Why in the heck? What's your fascination with submarines?" I said, "They're black, they're stealth, and they're deadly."
All true.
Now that makes sense. I mean, when you can, and this is when before there was salt, I said we have a 560-foot, 18,000-ton submerged tube with 135, 140 guys on board with 24 tubes, and if all four of those 24 tubes had a D5, a Triton II, it could load 14. I think with the Mark 70, I think the Mark 78 nukes, they're a 240 kiloton weapon. Each one of those 24 missiles, submarine launched ballistic missiles, could carry 14 240 kiloton, not megaton, kiloton maneuverable warheads to the Soviet Union, and they could hit every one of their targets without leaving the Delta Pier at Bangor or without leaving Kings Bay, Georgia. Those are where the two Ohio boats are, home ports. And now they, because of salt, they've taken the middle four tubes, they fill them with ballast, and they're sealed, and they're limited to no more than 3 MIRVs per D5 missile. So but we still have the ability to really kick some butt. And the other thing, and the USS Georgia, which is an SSGN, the G stands for non-nuclear missile. I don't know if the G stands for. I'm not sure what the G stands for, but it's the missile boat. It took the 4 oldest Ohio boats, and they were C4 boats, and there was a lot involved to convert them to a D5, and they were getting near end of service life without a service life extension. So they said, we're going to take those first 4 submarines, and we're going to make arsenal boats out of them. So in the launch tube that would normally carry a submarine launched ballistic missile, they put in a cartridge that goes in there with associated hardware and wiring that will hold 7 Tomahawk cruise missiles, and you can carry up to 154 Tomahawk cruise missiles, not counting what you can put in the torpedo room. If they wanted to do that, they could add a couple more, and have one of those. The USS Georgia, SSGN, was it 729? It's in the Persian Gulf, and they can hit every significant target in Iraq or Iran, but in Iran. And we also have the B-2 that can take out buried bunkers. But the Ohio boat is an incredible boat. It's one of the quietest boats out there. I had an opportunity to go to 400 feet deep in the Henry M. Jackson. It was going out patrol, and they were going to do angles and dangles and come back in and take contractor and non-assigned personnel off the boat. And it was a kick. I'm up in the bridge going through the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and I look behind me, and there's up to 100 hydrogen bombs on this submarine. And I'm thinking to myself, Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington don't have a thing on me. As I go through the Straits of Juan de Fuca, I was just sitting there, just happy, the big and slop. I mean, it was just. But when we're leaving the Delta Pier, I'm down in the lower level. I thought at the time was going to be my son-in-law is a nuke on the at the time on the Henry and Jackson, and he was my formal escort, and all of a sudden the boat starts shaking. I said, "What the hell is that?" Because when we left the pier, there was no sense of motion because you're going very, very slow to begin with. And I said, "Oh, that's 60,000 shaft horsepower going in reverse. It must be something with the floating bridge." And they moved back the roadway, so the submarines can pass. And then we headed up the Straits of Juan de Fuca, and then I went up all the way up to the top of the Fairweather, and it was just cool. And then we went in and we did angles and dangles, and I was hoping for an emergency blow, but they weren't going to do it. And then came back in. We took the crew boat off, and I took just a cool shot of a side view of the Henry M. Jackson with some crew on board as we're leaving it, and it's full frame from bow to stern. It was just a cool shot, and it was thrilling. Now I have requested a ride for another book for a Pearl Harbor-based Virginia-class boat after it's done with refit at Bremerton on its way back to Pearl. I want to be on it.
I envy you that. I really want to ride on a Virginia.
Well, it took me, I didn't get a ride on it, but it took me 7.5 years to get on the Connecticut. And I've had people say they let you on the Connecticut with a camera, and I said, yeah, but it took me 7.5 years to get to the point where I could shoot one. And I pretty much shot most everything forward of the reactor bulkhead. I was thrilled. I mean, it was just you don't go down a steep ladder to get into the the Seawolf class. You go down a set of steps to the 4th level, which is the equipment level. Then you go down another level, and then you're where everything starts happening. But it was fascinating, and the fact this thing has 8 torpedo tubes, and when they go out and patrol, they carry 50 Mark 48 ADCAP 6, I think it is. Mm-hmm. And it was designed to take out the entire northern fleet, one submarine.
Yep. So when I was on the Hampton, Mark 48 was my footstool. Where crew normally slept was where they rotated in and out if there was a big enough complement on board, was my computer desk, and right above my computer terminal was the remove before flight stuff on a cruise missile. Jim, that was mighty cool, dude.
Well, I think of my Virginia, my Los Angeles class, I think I have a picture of a Tomahawk with the white cover with the red stripes.
Oh yeah. Remove before flight.
Yep.
Jim, I think I have a picture of that, which I will share with you.
Oh, okay. All right. Dave knows my email. It's
I know it.
I say it on the air.
I have it.
I would say it on the air, but I get the political season is almost over. But I get up to slow day. I get 400 emails. Busy day, I've gotten as much as 750 emails.
Well, the best thing I ever did was retire.
Yeah. Well, when I was the associate curator at the Pacific Aviation Museum in Pearl Harbor, and I absolutely loved the job. I mean, if I didn't have a whole bunch of ex-wives, I would have done it for nothing. But they paid me good money. I lived at the Ilokai, That's where I got on the USS Hawaii, SSN 776, and I got on from the very, very last patrol. I got on the USS Los Angeles, SSN 688.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that thing was beat up. That thing was beat up. They had to keep the snorkel. They had to keep it up. They had a strap of 2x4 along the intake pipe as it's raised on the snorkel, just to so it kept retracting.
Well, how long after that did they decommission it?
It was on its way to decommissioning.
Got it. Okay.
It was December. I think it was December 12th, 2009.
Wow.
When I did the shoot, and it went to L.A. for decommissioning. They towed it up to Bremerton, and it went straight into the torch room. I mean, I started cutting that thing apart immediately. It didn't go to the end of the line because the two evil witches from California, at the time was Feinstein and Boxer, they had said that they wanted the Los Angeles on permanent display at Los Angeles Harbor, and it will be ADA compliant. They figured it was going to cost the Navy between $100 and $175 million to make the submarine ADA compatible with wheelchairs.
That is amazing. How do you get up and down those ladders?
That's why they had to put elevators in.
Oh my goodness gracious!
Yeah, I mean, I also on all the subs I've been on, I've become friends with a couple of the Cobbs. And when I was on the San Francisco, I asked the Cobb. I said, "Is there any way without a camera and you can search me and everything else, I can go into the back hatch and go into the maneuvering room?" And he said, "Not no, but hell no."
So just for the audience, Cobb is chief of the boat, and that's the highest ranking enlisted officer on the boat. A listed man on the boat. So there's officers and enlisted people, and the Cobb is the highest ranking enlisted man on the boat.
Well, there's three categories. There's officers, enlisted, and chiefs.
Yes.
Chiefs run the Navy. I was on the Abraham Lincoln, and they asked me, said, "You want to eat in the officers' mess or the chief's mess?" I said, "I'll eat in the chief's mess." And because I had already had a meal in the officers' mess, and it was okay. I went to the chiefs. It was great. So the chiefs run the Navy. The officers take the glory.
Exactly. I pretty much go along with that.
Yeah. And I know when I was on, I was escorting the NTA 3B, I forget the bureau number, the Whale, Sky Warrior. It was one that was used for Phoenix missile testing back in the day. Never saw it. It was just a TA at Whidbey for just a short time, and then it was sent off to Hughes, and they used it forever. And then when Hughes' stuff was bought out by Raytheon took over. I think they had four or five A3s there at Van Nuys. I shot them all, but I was we were getting one with it was the B-2 signature validation aircraft. It had real high-powered radar in the nose and the tail, and the radar was in the bomb bay, and that's where the operators were. And before the Air Force would accept a B-2, this thing had to fly around it and look for any hot spots. It had they call it Skybird. It's a TV camera that is a slave to the radar antenna, and it will if there's a hot spot, it will pinpoint it and mark it where it's at. So when they get back ground, they can pinpoint where the potential negative effect on the radar cross section is on the airplane. So once all the airplanes were delivered, it became surplus, and they were just going to cut it up. And we convinced the Navy that we wanted it in Hawaii, so it was flyable. It flew down from Van Nuys down to North Island, and it was there for about a week and a half, 2 weeks. And then on the 12th of February 2012, we put it on the deck of the USS Bonhomme Richard. Was it LDH 6? That's the one that caught on fire here earlier this last year. And I spent 8 days at sea. I never knew the sea was that dark. And there's no way in hell I could have been a sailor. I was staying in the chief's quarters, so they were decent quarters, and I read 3 books cover to cover. But it was just fun. I know when we were leaving San Diego, we had repositioned the A3 on the bow of the Bonhomme Richard as they're moving airplanes around. And somebody sent a text. I think it went on Facebook, but it was posted on something that one of the guys on the Bonhomme Richard said. Someone saw it and they said, "How in the hell did they land an A3 on a helicopter boat or ship?" And that was they were talking about our airplane. But we came in Pearl Harbor. I have all. I just good thing for digital cameras. I think I shot 1,000 images, both loading, in transit. Boy, if you fell overboard when an oiler came by, I was dumbfounded how big those waves got. And the other thing they had 800 Marines on board. They were going to Sasebo, and about half of them had never seen the ocean before they joined the Marine Corps. So out of the 800, said about 600 of them were riding the rail almost the entire way, and they're way down in the bowels of the Bonnie Dick. And I asked the Master Chief. I said, "You've been down there?" And he said, "Yeah, but I won't go down there again without a hazmat suit." I guess it was pretty putrid. So we got to Pearl Harbor. It was a beautiful day, and crane operator screwed up and got the days mixed up. So when there was, and they were leaving the next day. They had to leave. But we got it off. We got it on the Kilo Pier, and then had to wait about another 3 or 4 days for the crane barge to come and get it. And they picked it up, brought it over to Ford Island, and we towed it over to the museum. And the rest is history. I've done a lot. I've been blessed. I've done a lot of fun things, and most of them related to airplanes, fast cars, UFOs, Area 51, and a friend of mine called Bob Lazar. So, any other questions?
Dave?
I just love listening to the stories, man.
They're fantastic.
I know.
So let me say.
See, I'm going to tell you right now. I am so lost on submarines because I hate the ocean. I hate the ocean.
Scared of sharks.
There is a megalodon that will take down one of these submarines with one bite. Okay, it's guaranteed going to happen.
It was the curse.
How do you think the curse went down? Exactly. How do you think the curse went down? But what I am saying though is, in regards to these submarines, Jim, we don't know how fast they go. We can assume, but there's all of this technology that is moving underwater propulsion so much faster now, and we hear about these USOs, these unidentified submergible objects. I'm curious your thoughts on whether the Navy, through some sort of naval skunk works, has the technology to be going hundreds of knots underwater.
I mean, theoretically, you can do it. The Russians have been saying for a long time that they have the ability to fire a torpedo that goes 400 miles an hour underwater. I'd like to see it, but the technology is there. I mean, to quote a friend of mine, Ben Rich, when I was just before he died, he was it was my quarterly call to Ben. He was at USC Medical Center. It's around Christmas time. And we were talking about my late friend John Andrews from Testers. Anytime he called me, we always said, testing 1, 2, 3. This is Spy 1. This is Spy 2. And then we give some code names that if we know if they're listening, they would really throw up a bunch of flags. Then we laugh at them and continue our conversation. But, oh, my God. I went off on a tangent and forgot what I was going to say.
In regards to the speed of these USOs.
Oh, speed. Oh, yeah. When I was talking to Ben, he said, and we were talking about a lot of spooky things. He said, Jim, we have things out in the desert, and he wasn't referring to Area 51. That's 50 years beyond what you can comprehend. Not what you can think you can build in 50 years, but what you can comprehend. And if you've seen movies like Star Wars or Star Trek, we've been there, done that, or decided it wasn't worth the effort. And the CIA just released 15,000 PDF files, and they have multiple pages. I opened it up just before you started because I forgot I was going to be on, and I started going through. I got about 6 or 7 files. There's a lot of talking, but there isn't anything that says, "Oh, they got it," or "We got it," or whatever. But there's the president had ordered all government agencies that had any files on UFOs, they must be released, sanitized, and released within 180 days of signing the executive order. So all that stuff, anything that isn't, Q classification or top secret classification or whatever, we're going to see. And we may even see some references to my friend Bob Lazar in some of those memos. I don't know. I haven't, I say it's going to take a good week of just going through and reading every single one of these and try to read between the lines because there's a lot of redactions on the early stuff.
I just want to tell the audience that the stuff has been uploaded and indexed and all that stuff on John Greenwald's Black Vault. And there are lots of messages John sent out in the last couple of days about this release. Now, the thing that Jim told me, which I did not know, is that this was an executive order by Donald Trump.
Right, and he's ordered all federal agencies that have any files on UFOs or related to UFOs or whatever else they're called, that they need to be released to the public.
That's amazing.
So, and there's some others.
Gentlemen, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. And I've just been scouring the internet here. I can't find that as of yet, but I am looking for that intel on that. But we're going to continue on with Science Bob and Friends with Dr. Bob Mcgwier and special guest tonight, James C. Goodall, one of the top aviation authors in the world. Never mind just North America, the world. We'll be back with Hour 2 of Spaced Out Radio coming up next. All right, guys, we're clear.
Water too.
Remember, we are live on YouTube, okay? Science Bob? Where'd Science Bob go? I don't know. I'll be right back, guys. Hold on.
Will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
Anybody there?
And I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Okay, boys, I'm back. So let me finish eating my snow here.
Everybody there?
I am. I don't know if Bob's
Good.
back.
Oh.
I'm just eating snow.
Get some... Pardon?
I'm just eating snow.
Yellow snow.
Not yellow. Fuck.
Oh, okay. I didn't see snow until November 2nd, 1962.
Yeah, we got a little dump last night.
Yeah. I guess Snoqualmie Pass, going out of Seattle.
Yep, that's a good one. They got a dump load.
They're up to, normally they get like 160 inches a year or 148 inches a year. It's 10 feet, 11 feet.
Yeah.
Well, they're up to 260 inches. This is before the big snowfall that's hitting them today. Tonight.
I hear you. Okay,
Yeah.
We've got 1 minute here. Science Bob, are you back, or do you have your microphone on mute?
I am. I'm here.
Okay. I got an interesting military story to tell you guys. I told my audience last night after the show, but I'll tell you guys at the next break.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, we got 30 seconds. Big thank you to Vinster, Raz Grizz, and from Fort McMurray, and Cherry Pepsi Mike for the super chats tonight. Really appreciate the support of this show. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and hit that subscribe button, guys. Here we go in 5 seconds. Each and every one of you tuning on in. We welcome back everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember to check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us tonight, Clam? Oh, let's take a look here. Leotricious. Leotricious is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Science Bob and friends. Dr. Bob Mcgwier is with us, and our special guest tonight, one of the top aviation authors in the world, if not the top, James Goodall. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Well, pleasure.
Happy to be here, Dave. I'm coffeeed up and ready to go.
All right, Bob, where do you want to go? Do you want to stick with submarines, or do you want to go into aviation?
No. What I want to do is, Jim kind of half told the story, or a few minutes of the story. I want Jim to tell our audience the story of how a man gets his own personal SR-71.
Well, I talked about that during the break, didn't I?
Yeah, tell it on the air.
Okay. For those that aren't aware, I'm retired Air Force and Air Guard, retired E-7 Master Sergeant. And for my last 16 years with the Minnesota Air Guard, I was the state staff and then wing historian. But I'm also an airplane nut. And in August of 1989, a dear friend of mine, who we talk at least once a quarter, Mr. Ben Rich, who at the time was the president of the Lockheed Skunk Works, he called me at home. And this was a normal event. This happened once a quarter for 25 years. And Ben said, Jim said, I got it from the horse's mouth. The blackbirds are not going to make it through Congress. And if anybody can scrounge one, you can. So he said, you got me. He said, no one knows this but you. You're the first person, who wants to get a blackbird to get this information. So I decided I would, in the Guard, you can violate the chain of command and go over the head of your immediate boss. My immediate boss was the wing commander. But I called the Adjutant General of the state of New York, and I called his office, and the secretary answered the phone. I said, this is Sergeant Goodall with the 133rd Airlift Wing. Is General Weaver available? He said, yeah, just a minute, Sergeant. I'll get him for you. General Weaver answers the phone. I said, yeah, General Weaver, this is Sergeant Goodall with the 133rd. He said, Sarge, what can I do for you? I said, sir, how would your New York Air Guard like to move the world's fastest airplane in a couple of your C-5s? He said, you mean the Blackbird? I said, yes, sir. He was silent for a few seconds. I thought he was going to hang up on me. He said, you mean the Blackbird? And I said, yes, sir. And he said, when you're ready, you call, we'll haul. Now, the important part of this thing, I'm a scrounge. I'm like a Sergeant Bilko. Pratt & Whitney wanted to lease a C-5 from the Air Force because they wanted to get a Blackbird for West Palm Beach. They were going to put it on a wind vane so it would be always pointing in into the wind, during hurricanes or whatever. And Arnie Gunderson was the Mr. J-58 at Pratt & Whitney, and he had got contacted Air Force and says, yes, we'll lease you a C-5. It's $967,000 a day plus gas. And apparently that didn't fly with anybody. But because it was a Guard unit moving something for a Guard unit, they had it down as training for moving outsized cargo, which it was. We cut the wings off we finally got the okay, much to everyone's surprise. And let me step back. I'm going too far. I'm going too fast. So I'm talking to General Schwab. And he said, how are you going to get it here? I said, I already got that covered. He said, what do you mean? I said, New York Air Guard will give us the use of 2 C-5s and crew. And he said, okay. I said, well, how are we going to pay for some of this? I said, I got hold of Rosemont 3M and the Dayton Hudson Corporation, which is now Target. A dear friend of mine was the creative director for Dayton Hudson, Marshall Fields, and I said, they're going to do they donated $25,000, and they paid to have a professional film crew come in and film the whole thing. It took us 2.5 days to take the airplane apart, Palmdale. And then they were all, we left on August 10th, came back, August 6th or 7th, came back on the 13th, loaded up, and everybody was there. Now, it was, the floor in a C-5 is 19 feet wide, 121 feet long, and at the lowest point, which is the wing box, is 13 feet high. When we moved the Blackbird into the C-5, I had 1.5 inches of clearance on the floor. I had adequate clearance at the wing root and topwise. We'd cut the wings off just outside of the main gear, and but we knew if it was a little bit tight, we'd always get to come along in between the landing gear and torque them in just if we needed an inch or two. But we had to take, it's a 3-wheel bogey. We had to take the outer wheel, hub, and brake assembly off, so it would fit. And the thing that's so special about this, we left Palmdale, Air Force Plant 42, and we flew to Travis Air Force Base because there wasn't any fuel available at Palmdale. So we flew to Travis, spent the night. Next day we take off, heading to Minnesota, and we're out about 45 minutes. And the loadmaster, who's an E9, he's a chief master sergeant. He gets ready to go down into the cargo bay, and I said, "Can I go with you?" He said, "Normally that would be a no, but since this whole thing is your project, sure, not a problem." So we went down into the cargo bay, which is massive, even with this big, huge Blackbird in there. But I climbed up in the landing gear along the chine. I had a wheel chock stuck in the canopy, which is incredibly heavy. The counterbalance was out of nitrogen. I opened the thing up, latched it. I already had a 5-gallon bucket with a cushion inside of it. I took then I lowered the canopy. I was in there for about 45 minutes, going zoom, zoom. I'm in the cockpit of a Blackbird at 33,000 feet, doing Mach 0.72 inside another airplane. I'm the only person on the planet to ever have done that.
That is awesome.
Keep going, Jim.
I don't take no for an answer. I was told I would never get. Pardon?
Keep going. I love the rest of this story.
Yeah, and we got it to Minnesota. We put it together, and then I scraped every bit of spray lead off that thing myself. I didn't have any live steam, so I used a pocket knife, one of the short stubby blades, and peeled it off, and also with a heat gun. I realized that a heat gun wasn't going to hurt the airplane since the average temperature on the airplane was 520 degrees at speed and altitude. I finished it. I painted the Blackbird twice myself. The paint's toxic. The cockpit was 100% complete. It was the most perfect A-12 Blackbird out there. And then one of the former directors at the Air Force Museum decided the CIA needed one. So they said, "You're losing your airplane. We're taking it." And it's going on a poll for the CIA. Well, I started fighting it. I made the front page of the Wall Street Journal. And my picture is just underneath the fold, fighting Air Force Museum and CIA. So they took my airplane, and I was really not very happy with that. But then someone sent me a booklet on Archangel, which is what they call the A-12, among other things. And I opened the book up, and it's the history of the Oxguard airplane, the A-12 program. And the first photo in there is my photo. I took a picture of 128 from the top of the alert hangar looking down on it. It only has a national insignia on one side because you can't see both sides of the airplane at the same time. So one side had national insignia with 06931 on the tail. The other side had no national insignia, red markings, and a red tail number 77835. Those were the bogus tail numbers. They changed those on every flight at Kadena when it was operational. And there's a long story on that too, but it really pissed me off. So I sent a letter to the CIA, and I said, you have used a photo of mine without my permission, and worst of all, without giving me photo credit. And I talked to a buddy of mine, Jim Stevenson, who's another incredible author. I talked to him. He went to Harvard Law, but never decided. He never wanted to be an attorney. He just liked the law. So I called him up and I said, "Hey, this is what the CIA did. They published my photo in one of their publications without giving me photo credit and without my permission. What can I do?" And he said, "You can the maximum fine for improper use, illegal use of a copyrighted photograph, illustration, or whatever is $37,000." So I sent a bill to the CIA for $37,000 for unauthorized use of my photo. And I got a call from Mr. Levine, who is the chief legal counsel for the director of Central Intelligence. I mean, I might as well go to the top. And he said, Mr. Goodall said we could have purchased these photos from a stock photo place or got them for Lockheed for $400 or gotten them from Lockheed for nothing. I said, if you could have, you would have. I have the Kodachrome. I took the picture. It's in 10 publications, which I will send you. And it says Jim Goodall or James C. Goodall, and there's a little circle there with a C in it. Oh, it is my airplane. So I send him the stuff. I get another call from Mr. Levine. He said, Mr. Goodall, we received your package, and yes, in fact, the photograph is yours. But I can't deal with, $37,000 is out of question. I would have taken $500. I said, well, make me an offer I can't refuse. He said, $5,000. I said, with one caveat. He said, what's that? I'd be allowed on the property of the CIA to do a 360-degree walk-around photographically of my airplane. He said, I'll have to get permission. We'll have to get the okay from the director of Central Intelligence. So there I go again. And I get another call from Mr. Levine, and he said, give us a date, and we'll arrange for you to come on the property. So I was going to the East Coast anyway in April, and this is back in January, February time frame. And I said, I gave him a date. It was the 22nd of April of 2009. I arrived. I'd been at Oceana, and I'd been to I can't remember the name of the fort right there. That's not important. Fort Monroe. And my grandfather was commander of Coast Artillery there way back when. But I digress. So I arrive at the back gate of the CIA. There's a formal gate for employees, and there's a back gate for contractors and stuff. And I drive up, and I have my military ID and my driver's license in my hand, and I roll down the window, and I hadn't said a word yet, and the guy said, Mr. Goodall, welcome to CIA. He said, put this on your dash and park at the front door where it says DV only. That stands for, they don't know, distinguished visitor. So that just cracked me up. So off I go. I park in the front entrance, and that's what you see in some of the pictures, and it's taken from a distance. And you go into this huge open atrium with the stars, listing the lost CIA people.
Lost CIF, yes.
Yeah, and as I walk in there, the guard on the other side said, "Hey, Mr. Goodall, welcome to CIA. Michelle will be right with you." So I'm there just sort of milling around. There's nothing to do in there. There's no pictures or whatever. And this drop-dead gorgeous woman in a red suit, blonde, comes walking out. I was single at the time, and I said, "Oh boy, maybe I should join the CIA." And she was the public affairs officer. So she escorted me, to meet with Mr. Levine. I had to sign some papers, releasing them from any liability for the photo. And I went there, and then Michelle said, "Now we can go get your camera," because I had it in the trunk, and we'll go take pictures. So as we're walking over to the A12, I have my camera around my neck. I'm getting all sorts of weird looks from people. And Michelle says, "I don't know how you did it." And I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "You're the first civilian, non-military, non-contractor type of photographer that's ever been on the CIA property to take pictures, except for an employee open house." I said, "Does it make me special?" You better believe it. You're the only one in my 17 years in public affairs. But on that same date, the 22nd of April in 2009, I got a buddy of mine who works at a maintenance and repair operation in Florida, and it's I think a D-check place, which is a really major overhaul place for they call the red and whites, the red and white 737s that fly into Area 51.
The Janet jets.
And my buddy called me up. And he says, I'm working on these Janet birds. I'd like to do something for you, make you infamous. I said, no reason to stop now. What do you want to do? I said, I want to make a stencil, like a Kilroy was here type stencil, and say Jim Goodall was here. And he did it, and he spray painted it in the nose wheel of 3 airplanes and in the cockpit, where you have to sort of, with some of the insulation paneling, you pull that off and sprayed it in there. So, and the reason I said, do me a favor, when he was making the stencil, put the date as 22 April 09. I said, why that date? I said, because I have the best alibi in the world. I was at the headquarters of CIA. And he did it. Never heard any comments about it, and I would love to have been a mouse in the corner listening to what they had to say when they found Goodall was here, zapped inside their nose wheel door, nose wheel bay. So, I've always pushed the envelope when it comes to pushing the envelope. It's something that's part of me. I don't think I could sit back and not do something when, if I put my mind to something, I'm going to do everything I can to get it done. And I think I've done a good job of it over the years. I look back at, I'm 75.
Jim, tell us how long you had the A12.
15 years.
Wow.
15 years. And I've opened up and been inside every opening on the airplane. Plus, I dismantled it and I put it in with the team, and we put it back together. And it's just, it was the most fun that I've ever had.
A lot of people don't know that the A12 was the the forerunner to the SR-71. When the Air Force took it on, they added armor and a bunch of other stuff, and made it slower. And made it slower and fly lower.
Yeah. And the altitude is based on gross weight, and the A-12 is 4,000 to 5,000 pounds lighter than the SR. Jim A. Sam said he flew 128 straight and level at 92.5. That's 92,500 feet. That's almost 30 meters, or 30 kilometers.
Wow. Dave, you got a 3-minute question?
Oh, my goodness, only 2. But
I can't believe how fast this time goes.
I know.
But
it's great, Jim. That's the reason I love having you on.
Oh, I don't know when to shut up.
It's great.
People should meet Jim in person because these stories are about another 45, 50 minutes longer, and it really works well in a bar. I will say that.
And there's 45 or 50 of them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jim, in regards, there was a limited number of SR-71s and A-12s, and we only have about 90 seconds left here before we go to break. But, when it comes to procuring one for a museum and where they're putting them, I mean, there's got to be some greed that goes along with that from retired military people.
No, I was surprised of the lack of, once I got it to Minnesota, the lack of volunteers to work on it. But I had a group of Chinese, from the PRC come in, and they were visiting Honeywell and Rosemont and Controlled Data, and this is back in the 80s, in the early 90s, excuse me. And the escort came up, and he said, I have 10 Chinese aerospace engineers and their director. And I told them that you had a Blackbird at this museum, and they just went nuts. And we'd like to come and see it. I said, well, I'll tell you what. I said, I'll open up the cockpit, and you guys sit in, get a hero shot, and then come out and just get everybody a shot in the Blackbird. And they just thought that was incredible. So that's what I did. And hopefully some of those people will remember me, because I've requested through the State Department, asking the Chinese if they want me to do a book on their stealth bomber.
That'd be fun.
And
I'm going to get you to hold on right there, Jim. I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we do got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Science Bob and Friends continues on Spaced Out Radio with Dr. Bob Mcgwier, our special guest, aviation expert and author, James C. Goodall. We're going to be talking more air traffic and more on Spaced Out Radio coming up next. All right, guys, we're free and clear.
No.
Yeah.
Next half hour, we're going into the story of a man he knew a long time before he became famous.
Who's that?
Bob Lazar.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
I've
You
known
can go
Bob.
wherever you want.
I've known Bob.
Save it for when we get back on
Sa-
the air.
Yeah, save it. Don't give our YouTubers a head start.
Okay.
Yeah, then we got to repeat everything.
Like that's going to bother me?
No, it's not gonna bother you.
I'm gonna tell you guys. I'm gonna tell you guys a quick story here. So I know you, James, you've been to the Abbotsford Air Show, and in 1991 and 92, my dad ran the air show, the pilots' bars, the secret bar.
Oh,
yeah. So in 91, I was 18 years old. Brian Mulroney, our prime minister, had just hacked and slashed the defense budget, and I couldn't get into the Air Force, and I got to sit in a CF-18 Hornet for about 45 minutes and fell in love, and I think I drooled all over that cockpit. But, during the week, it's just a straight party there. And on the Monday after, my dad was cleaning up the bar, tearing it down, and he finds this Tilly hat from Operation, I forget what Canada called it, Friction, I believe, which was Desert Storm. And he gives it to me.
Oh.
So, this thing I've kept in, pristine condition. And a couple of weeks ago, I said, I'm going to find that hat because I know it's around my house, and I'm going to see if I could get it back to the guy. So I found the hat 2 nights ago, or last night, pardon me, at 5 o'clock, and I'm in this one CF18 group on Facebook because I just love looking at the photos. I'm like a photo stalker there. And I posted photos of the hat, and I said the guy's last name is McGregor, and I'd like to return this. I broke down the story of how I came in touch with it. Find out within 45 minutes that the gentleman's name was Bill McGregor. He died 5 years ago, but one of the people in there knew his wife, and I gave him my number, and within 5 minutes, his wife called me and told me that he had been looking for that hat ever since Desert Storm, and he looked in every secondhand store, every surplus store, online, military, just anybody to see if he could find it, and he never found it, and it was sitting in my closet. And he passed away 5 years ago, and I mailed it to her today.
Oh, good for you.
I mailed it to her today.
That's cool.
And her and her 3 sons were absolutely ecstatic. I FaceTimed with her last night, and I was able to show her the hat, and because she had only ever seen the hat in pictures, because he got the hat when he landed in Qatar. And so apparently this hat is now going to go into there's a display, I believe, at Cold Lake for the Desert Storm War Memorial and people who've served there, and they've got a little area cordoned off for everyone who has passed away since that conflict. And she goes, this hat is going to go into that display. It was missing. So that hat is now going to go sit in a museum forever, and I'm pretty happy right now. I mailed it to her today.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's
Nice job, Dave.
Yeah. I thought
you know what you Canadians are going to get one of these days, because there's no room for it at the Museum of Flight. There's talk that the Air Museum in Sydney, near the airport, now they have a nice little museum. They may get the de Havilland Comet that I worked 10 years on.
Oh, really?
21,000 man hours of my time. That's what's under discussion.
Wow.
Now I'm going to throw a cow fit if they do it, because there's my 21,000 hours, not counting probably another 50,000 hours of volunteer time in there. I work full time on it.
Hold
as
on,
an employee.
Guys, hold on. We got 15 seconds. Thank you to Jenny. We love you, Jenny. Cherry Pepsi, Mike ×2, Vinny, and Raz Grizz for the super chats tonight. We're going to continue on. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate the time. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Science Bob and Friends. Dr. Bob Mcgwier is here, along with aviation expert and author James C. Goodall. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Happy to be
We're
back.
glad to be here.
Jim, last half hour you did a great job of telling us my favorite SR-71 story, but you're full of stories. And this particular audience will certainly want to know a story about you knowing and being friends with John Lear and Bob Lazar before anybody ever heard of Bob Lazar.
Okay, it was shortly after they announced the existence of the F-117. And it was, that was released in November 88. In January of 89, John Lear of the Learjet family, we're heading up to Tonopah. We're heading up to the town of Tonopah because he was told that there's all sorts of activity at a place called Tonopah Test Range. So anybody's gone up US 95. There's a place halfway between Las Vegas and Tonopah. We're at Scotty's Junction, and that's where one of the legal houses of ill repute, where you can go out and pay to have a good time. And we just passed Scotty's Junction, and an F-117. No one had seen one yet. An F-117 flew over us at about 1,500 feet, and I about crashed the car. And I said, "John, did you see that?" He says, "Yeah, I know where they fly out of." So we had a quick bite in Tonopah, filled up with gas, heading east on US, that's US 6. We go about 14 miles, and the big sign said Tonopah Test Range, Sandia facility, and a bunch of other stuff. So we go down this road. It's 18 miles to the main gate, and there's a lot of activity there. But there's a dirt road path along the fence line, and that is that fence line is, if you're north of it, you're in BLM land, which is Bureau of Land Management, which is taxpayers' land, and south of it's a restricted area. So John and I drive down this road, and an F-117 flying, with a T-38. I saw a black dot in the distance, way north of us, and a little white dot right next to it. So, and this is when I was shooting film. This is people who don't know that cameras used to have to put film in there, and you had anywhere from 18 to 24 to 36 maximum photos. So when you took a picture, you didn't see it for a week, so you don't know if it was blurred or not. So I had a Nikon. No, I had a Pentax back then. I had Pentax LX. I had some really good lenses. And as this F-117's coming up, my whole body is trembling. I mean, I'm vibrating like I'm a 12-year-old kid seeing a naked woman for the first time. I mean, I couldn't hold the camera still. And I'm taking pictures. I went through 36 exposures, and out of those 36 exposures, I had 4 or 5 that had no blurring in them at all. The rest of them, minor blurring. Even though I was shooting fairly fast, my whole body it was like I was sitting on top of a gigantic vibrator. So I shot the airplane, and John said, "Well, let's get back. We'll go down through Warm Springs, go down the extraterrestrial highway, is what it's called today, and stop and grab a bite at the Little Alien." So that's what we did, and we got that done. And then as we're heading through Tippecanoe Valley, John said, "Well, let's drive down this 4-lane dirt road, which is the back road to Area 51. So we drive past it. There's signs saying restricted area, use of deadly force authorized, no photography, whatever. We just drive past that. We go in about a quarter of a mile or more. We come up to a gate. I mean, a guard shack. No gate or anything, just a guard shack. And a very nice young man comes up with, he has his 9mm Beretta on his side, and that's it. And you get out of the car, and you can see the whole facility. I mean, it's right there. We're on the other side of the dry lake bed. And John said, "Yeah, is it all right if we take a picture of your guard shack?" And about the same time, another guard was coming out with a M16, and he had just put in a 30-round clip, and he pulled back and loaded the chamber. And he heard John say, "Hey, can we photograph your guard shack?" And this big guy, who was a reject from the NFL because he's too big. That's the National Football League to you Canadians.
I got that. I'm a former sports reporter.
Yeah. And this big guy comes out and he said, "If you take a picture, you're going to be interviewed by some very, very unfriendly people." And I looked at John and said, "Time to go." We jump in the car, turn around, and head on out. Now, I have 36 exposures of F-117 that I'm just chomping at the bit at. We get back to John's house. He lives near Nellis. He doesn't anymore, but he lives near Nellis. And we go into his office, and he said, "I got a buddy of mine just moved here. I think you'll find him interesting. You know, he worked at Sandia, working on nuclear weapons, and he's interviewing doing his final interviewing for a job out in the desert." So I said he's supposed to be here about 9:15. I mean, we had just gotten in there at about 9. Now I have this film, this print film, that we would go to a photomat, and if you have to be old to know what a photomat is, it's where these it was like a little kiosk in the middle of a parking lot, had Kodak on and all the right colors, and you go and drop your film off, and come back the next day and pick it up, or you can, if it's early in the day, you can pay extra to have it processed. So I mean, I was real frustrated because all the photomats were already closed. So here, knock on the door. It's about 8:15, maybe 20 after 9. And John goes to the door and comes in with this nice-looking young guy. They said, introduced myself, "I'm Jim Goodall." And he said, "My name is Bob Lazar. How's it going?" I said, Good. And I said, "I'm frustrated. I have this film of the 117, and I got to wait till tomorrow to get it processed." He said, "Well, I have a C-41 process unit at home. It's run to my house. I live on the other side of town, but there's no traffic right now, so let's run to my place. I'll process it in the machine, and we'll print some shots." I said, "Sounds great to me." So we jump in his car, and we're heading over to West Charleston, and he looks at me. He said, "I feel bad for Lear." And I said, "Why's that?" He said, "He believes in UFOs." He said, "I'm a nuclear physicist. If I can't prove it mathematically or put my hands on it, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist." Bob Lazar did not believe in UFOs when he went to work for the Navy at a place called SOR. And his story has never changed. I've remained friends with him for the last 33 years. I was going to see him this fall, but with this COVID crap, I haven't. I've been on 2 long road trips, but not going out to see Bob Lazar. But once all this stuff is lifted, I'm going to take a couple crazies with me, UFO crazies with me when I go visit him, as long as he doesn't object. So, I'm looking forward to seeing him. When I called up the guys from First Phase of Moon, the Cousin Brothers, they're doing a program, and they wanted to know. They were talking to Doc Skinner, and they were talking about Bob Lazar, and he said, there's a guy. He says, "I'm not sure where he lives, but there's a guy around here somewhere that's a friend of his, and it's also a writer, and we haven't tracked him down." And Doc says, "He's sitting right in front of me. You're talking about Jim Goodall." I say, "Oh yeah, that's the name." So I got on with it was on speaker. I got on with the Cousin Brothers. He said, Could you contact Bob and ask him what he thought about the Tucker Carlson and the government official who said that UFOs were real?" And I said, "Sure." So I call Bob Lazar. His wife answers, and I've known her ever since they got married. Not really well, but she's just a sweetheart. And he's Bob too. I said, "This Jim Goodall." I said, "Oh, so you coming to visit us?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to do it in this late summer, early fall." I said, "Well, don't do it in winter because the roads here are really bad where they're at." So I said, "Is Bob around?" She says, "Yeah, he's in the lab. Let me get him." So she brings the phone to him, and Bob gets on, and I have it on speaker, and I say, "Hey, I got a question." I said, What do you think of the release of information?" And he said, when I first heard it, and he said, "I was just absolutely thrilled. I'm finally vindicated." But I said, "But I was waiting for hard evidence, and that hasn't happened." Well, now it has. It's just people have come into my life that have enhanced my life so much that I feel blessed. I mean, I have Bob Lazar as a friend. I have John Lear as a friend. I met almost all the guys that, test pilots that flew the Blackbird. They're all gone now. But Bob Gillen and I was friends with. I'm more of an acquaintance. And same with Jim Eastham and literally all the A-12 pilots and everyone who's crashed one except for Dennis Bush. He wouldn't answer the phone because he said, "I've heard of you." But that's another story. So it's just Bob's story has never changed, even when it would be very, very beneficial. And he told me outright. He said, "Jim, this is the worst thing I've ever done. This thing has been a millstone around my neck since the day I went public. But I felt I had to. But if I were to go back in time and that event happened, I wouldn't do it. It's just, it has not been worth the torment and the false accusations and everything else. He said, it wasn't the positive thing in my life. So, but his story has stayed, constant. Because they were European and Asian companies saying, "Hey, production companies say, yeah, if you tell us, you saw little grays or whatever, and just, and even if you didn't," and Bob wouldn't do it. And he said, "This is what I did. This is what I saw." He wasn't there forever, but he would just, and he decided to go public because he felt it was the right thing to do, much like Snowden and Julian Assange. He felt it was this should not be hidden from the world, and he didn't have anything to lose. And his wife had just, I think she had died in a Karen Silkwood type accident out in the desert, and he filled for his life. I mean, he was called. Security called him up to Indian Springs, which is now Creech Air Force Base. It's about 30 miles outside of Las Vegas on US 95. And they got him in the back. They got him in this car, and they put a gun to his head and threatened his life. And he just felt, this is. I'm not going to put up with this. I'm not going to have my country threaten my life. I don't deserve. I deserve better. So that's when he went on through John Lear. John knew George Knapp, was also a friend, and the rest is history. And I look forward to seeing Bob's place up in. I'm not going to say where it's at. But it should be a pretty place. Now I have my son has a hero shot when he was 15. I was 15. He flew into Las Vegas. I took him out to Area 51. We camped out at the north fence line for 5 days. And it was the most wonderful thing to be with my son. And it was just, it was wonderful. And there was the stars out there, incredible. Dave, you living up in the wilds of central British Columbia. I know you had beautiful skies and whatever, but my son was saying, Dad, he said, first night, he said, we're out here today. There was, that sky was crystal clear. I mean, it was blue all the way down to the horizon. None of this brown stuff you get in metropolitan areas. He said, but there's a big, huge cloud. I mean, it's almost a white cloud going all across the sky. And I said, what? He said, we're going to have rain? I said, James, that's the Milky Way. He had never seen it. He'd seen it a little bit when he's been up in northern Minnesota fishing or hunting. That's what they live, Minnesota. But he had never seen it. He was actually reading, because he had young eyes, he was actually reading a book by starlight. It was that bright.
We have nights like that.
You still there?
We have nights. Yeah, we have nights like that here.
Oh, I know. I've been up in that area, and I spent I spent just under 3 years in Alaska, and I've been out in the middle of nowhere at night, a cold winter night. I mean, it's just so crisp and fresh, and you can almost reach out and touch them. They're unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Jim, Bob, we have a couple questions from our audience here. We'll start off with Uncle Dale in Texas. And we're never sure if it's Uncle Dale or his fantastic mustache that is asking this question. We'll never know. But he is asking about the ox cart, so the A12 ox cart, and about the radar signature of a ball bearing it could pick up.
The radar signature subsonic is about the size of a baseball. But at Mach 3.2 at speed and altitude, the radar cross-section is about 10 square miles, because the radar will, if it's tuned right, the radar will pick up the ionized air as it passes through it. It heats it up and ionizes it, and it does leave a signature. Some of the photos you may have seen with an A12 upside down on pole at Area 51, they have these big things sticking out the back. That's to represent the exhaust plume, which is reflective. But the RCS of an SR-71 is, they say, 22 square inches, which is not very big. B-52, about 150 square feet. So it had a very, very low radar, very, very, very small radar cross section, and the SR-71 has a similar radar cross section. It's a first generation stealth. They had tried it with other things. They had tried stealth during World War II using lights that would dim or brighten to be contrast with the background light and stuff like that. But the Blackbird, the first A-12 Blackbird, was the first operational stealth aircraft. So. But today's new airplanes are, you have the size of a BB. The radar cross section of the F-117 is smaller than that of the F-22 or the F-35, because it was designed specifically as a purely stealth. It doesn't have guns, doesn't have weather radar or offensive radar, whatever it is, and it has two bomb bays. It holds, one 2,000-pound bomb in each bomb bay. That's the only, and they're still flying them today. There's 2 or 3 of them that are used for dissimilar air combat aircraft. Red flag people trying to locate, with radar, an F-117 in a combat environment, but those are being permanently retired. That's why a couple more museums are getting them. The Reagan Museum got one, the Palm Springs got one, and the one in Kalamazoo, Michigan, I believe, has an F-117. And that one in Kalamazoo also has the SR-71C. That's 981. That's the one I helped take apart. So
okay, we got time for one more question. And that will be coming from Joe in California, who is asking, he's like, Jim, do you or Bob know about an aircraft that can fly very low, very slow, and shaped like an arrowhead. Now, let me preface this. Joe lives about 40 miles north of Beale Air Force Base. He gets everything over his house every day, from T-38s to the U-2. All right? He's pretty well-versed, and he's a former geologist, and he's pretty well-versed in what's flying over top of his head.
Now, I have shaped like the closest thing to a true arrowhead would be half blue, and they only built 2 of them, and they crashed them both. So, there's stuff out there flying. I spent 4 years in Hawaii. I know it was too bad, but I spent 4 years in Hawaii and retired in August of 2013, and came here and started writing, working on my books. I haven't been out in the desert, but I have to go because on November 24th of this past year, 2020, a B-21 was photographed flying in formation with a B-2. Now, the B-21 is not supposed to be flying. It's still a paper airplane, or they're building parts of it or whatever. But this thing had a wingspan of 120 to 125 feet. It had 3 trailing edge points versus 5 on the B-2. And it has a single bomb bay versus a dual bomb bay that the B-2 has. And I've been in the cockpit of the B-2, and I've flown the B-2 simulator. And that tickles the hell out of me, too. I don't know how, I look back and say, how the hell did this happen? I'm not anybody. I'm just a guy who likes airplanes. But I'm also a push guy, so I guess that works. But one was photographed at 35, 40,000 feet. It was flying above the contrail of the B-2, and then it started moving to the south, and it was away from the contrail when the picture was taken. Now, the guy who took the picture thought it was just 2 B-2s because you can tell they're both flying wings. So he sent the raw stuff to me, and I put it up on Photoshop. And all I did, because it was mostly blue and white, with a little bit dark blue in there with stuff. You couldn't really make out truly what was there. So I hit auto color, auto contrast, and auto tone. When I hit auto tone, the sky turned blue, and this black airplane with lettering on its gear door, just like the B-2, pops up, and it has 3 trailing edge points.
Okay, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Science Bob and Friends with James Goodall tonight continues. We have him for another half an hour before we get to the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues with Hour 3 next. All right, guys, we're clear. I'm just going to run my dogs out. Big shout-out to the Alaska's greatest athlete, the gorgeous and talented Emily Bigelow. Welcome. Mondak, good to have you back. John Doe, thanks for coming on in. Kyle Evans, good to see you again, my friend. And we continue right after this. Go ahead, guys. Remember, Science Bob, you still there?
I'm here, man. I'm going to go take a break.
All right, we'll be right back.
Yes, he's had laryngitis. He hasn't talked at all.
No, it's good. It's good, Jim. You're this most awesome storyteller. Why would I interrupt you? I'll be right back.
All right.
Advertising on Spaced Out Radio. Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio, and while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do, what to do.
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah. Since I last talked to you, I got a new dog.
Did you? Did you get a German Shepherd?
Yes, I did, and she's
Nice.
absolutely beautiful. They found her on the street.
Yeah.
She was skinny. They figured she was about 18 months old, no collar, no chip. Maricopa County, which is Phoenix, animal control got her, and it's a kill shelter.
Mm-hmm.
But she was so beautiful. One of the volunteers at the shelter contacted a place called A Better Day Rescue.
Yeah.
And they rescued her. The same group also rescued, years ago, 7 of Michael Vick's fighting dogs.
Right.
That was a real challenge. But they had her for 4 months because she didn't know anything. She had no command. She was a feral dog.
Right.
And we got her, and she's beautiful, and she's loving. And if I don't rub her tummy or ignore her because I'm on the computer, she barks at me. She doesn't bark anywhere else. She just barks at me to get my attention, or if she needs to go out, or it's time for dinner. Those.
Right. Beautiful.
What's
her name?
Oh yeah, Scarlet.
Beautiful.
Like Scarlett O'Hara. Yeah. Oh, by the way, I don't post on Facebook right now because I'm in jail for the 6th time.
Oh, well, you're a troublemaker. You're a troublemaker.
Yes.
All right, hold on
Yes,
one second there.
Yes, I am.
We got 30 seconds, guys, or 20 seconds. Thank you to Uncle Dale and his Power Stash, Jenny, Cherry Pepsi, Mike ×2, Vinster, and Razgriz for the amazing super chats tonight. You can do a little shopping by going to facebook.com/the SOR Vault to get your Spaced Out Radio swag. We're going to be adding more very, very soon. Here we go with Hour 3, everyone. And final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Dave Scott. Always a pleasure earning your listening ears. We want to say thank you to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. Remember, you can check out all of our archives for free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The only thing I ask for in return is hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. What do you got for us, Clam? Let's see here. We got Leo Trickus. Leo Trickus is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Science Bob Mcgwier. Dr. Mcgwier is with Science Bob and Friends, a show we do here once a month where we don't really get into the woo, but we get into the who, what, where, when, and why, and, of course, how. Our special guest tonight, aviation expert and author James C. Goodall. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Glad to be here.
Happy to be here, Dave. Dave, I suspect that in our last half hour, we should start off by taking a few more audience questions. I mean, Jim's just full of interesting things, and I know people want to hear what he has to say about some topics. So why don't we do that?
Go right for it.
No, you go ahead. Do you have a list? If not, I'll go someplace.
No, you started off. This is your part. Your part.
Okay. All right. So, well, Jim, look. Tell us about how. Then let me go here. Tell us how you met John Lear.
I've been into airplanes forever, and when the Tester Model Company was going to do a quarter-inch scale model of the SR-71, they needed information on it, and everybody kept telling testers, get hold of Jim Goodall. He's Mr. Blackbird, which I really wasn't. I just had some stuff that other people didn't have. But the guy at Testers was named John Andrews, and I had briefly met John at an International Plastic Modeler Society. I used to build model airplanes, and he was there representing Tester. Before that, he was with Hawk Models, and we just hit it off. And you run into people like that I just met my dearest, oldest friend for the very first time. And that was the feeling. And I felt that way when I met you, Dave. I just felt immediately comfortable. But John was responsible for the U-2 from Hawk back in 1960. And he can get a lot of stuff out of photographs. He was a great photo analyst. But he had, in our conversations, he said, says, I have a friend you got to meet. You like airplanes. You like crazy people. I said, I got to meet you, a buddy of mine. And he said, he said, you're going to go out in the desert. You want to go out there, eventually and snoop on the government. And I said, yeah. And he said, well, I got to meet you with one of the biggest characters on the planet who flies airplanes. His name is John Lear. And I met John Lear about 1972, 73 time frame. Maybe a little bit later than that, but pretty close to that. And he still holds 16 world records for aviation that probably will never be surpassed. On his 16th birthday, he flew around the world in Lear 23, one of his dad's Lear jets. He had an FIA observer on board, but and Bill Lear had relations with the Russians and the Chinese and stuff like that. So he didn't have to go, skirt a lot of countries. He was able to fly, across most of them. But he was friends with G. Gordon Liddy. He met Howard Hughes. He was type rated when he was still flying. Type rated on, I think, 58 different types of aircraft. And I don't forget how many tens of thousands of hours of flight time he has. But he got fired because people say, well, you put your money where your mouth is, and John Lear is a real UFO. He's probably almost the godfather of UFO lore. He was the chief pilot at this particular time for America Trans Air. They're out of Indianapolis. And he was going around, he had found 15 people who had said they were abducted. And he would fly into a city. He would contact, prior to getting in there, a certified master hypnosis who goes in really, really deep. And you make arrangements with these people. I said, we'll do it at your home or a doctor's office. Where they're going to put you under deep hypnosis and see if we can pull out some of your memory. And he said 13 of the 15 people that he did this to, now these scattered all over the country, 13 of them had almost the exact same experience, almost exactly. The other two were fabrications. They were frauds. They were never abducted. But a news guy in Houston went to one of John's lectures when he was talking about UFOs and getting people to do regression into their memory to pull out what they saw. He said, "I think you're a danger to the flying public." And this guy contacted Lear, and I said, you have to cease this UFO crap because you're crazy. And if you don't stop, I will write an article on how unsafe flying with American Transair because their chief pilot is a UFO nut. So John was called to the headquarters of American Transair, and I don't know what a chief pilot made, but it was good money. It was better than, working at McDonald's. And the president of American Transair said, we got this written complaint from this guy. We don't want any bad press. If you promise that you won't do public talks on UFOs again, then we'll just forget it. And John says, I can't do that. So with that, John walked away from a $250,000 a year paycheck or whatever it was back then, and became unemployed because he put his money where his mouth was. He was a true believer in what he did, and that takes balls. I mean, it takes a lot of balls. But he's also one of the biggest characters I've ever met. I mean, I've been at his place and I've done something or whatever, knocked something over, and I thought he really, really got pissed off at me, I'm baffled. I didn't mean to upset him or whatever. And then I see this twinkle in his eye, and I look. I said, "Lear, you SOB." Said, "You're just pulling my leg," and he basked. I almost got you. He's a wonderful guy, and he's a dear friend, and I'm blessed that he's my friend. And I hope he's confined to a walker or a scooter. He crashed three airplanes when he was young. One of them he was doing a barrel roll, and he came down too low, and he slammed into the ground, and his feet on the rudder pedals. He actually broke his feet where his toes touched his heel. They wrapped around the rudder pedals. So he's always had problem with his feet. Oh yeah, since he was a young man, and of course as he got older, and I understand that because I'm old. He got to the point where he couldn't deal with the pain. So, but he sounded good last time I talked to him, which was about a week ago. And I'm as soon as some of these restrictions are lifted, if ever, I plan to go to Las Vegas and spend an afternoon with him. So he's a dear friend. He's a dear friend. He's a character. He said he's so sad about Beirut, Lebanon. I said, why is that? He said, it used to be the Paris of the Mediterranean. It was a beautiful seaside city, and now it's blown to crap. So, but he is a delightful guy to be around. You never know if he's kidding or pulling your leg or whatever. But his heart is in the right place, and he wants the information. There's some stuff that he says that I don't hold any. I think he's feeding me a line of crap. So I don't know if he's joking on some of this stuff, but it doesn't matter. He's a dear friend, and he'll always be a friend. And I hope he lives to be a real old man. He's a couple years older than me, so he's pushing 78, 79. So he's lived the life of 20 people. I mean, he flew for Continental Air Service, which was a wing or division of Air America, and he flew. I think it was a Pilatus. I think it's a Swiss turboprop Stovall airplane, high wing, and he flew those into Cambodia and Laos on resupply missions, where he's landing on mountaintops where you have 700 feet of runway that's sort of angled about 8 to 10 degrees off to one side with potholes, and to either side the thing drops off because you're in a little mountaintop and it drops into dense jungle. He said, sometimes he could, if it was DC fire, he had the door open. He would just push he'd be wheels on the runway, but still flying, and he'd just push the load out the door and then give it full power and take off. And he said you weren't allowed to bring a gun with you because the airline doesn't really exist. But he had a .45 with him, and he said times he'd get shot at, he didn't have a door on the side. On his right side, and he'd bank over where he knew the shots were coming from, and he'll unload a magazine of his .45. And bam, 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 bam. You VCSOB. He's a character. And I adore him. And again, I'm people come into your life and go out of your life because you're supposed to. And I've been a firm believer in that. I've had opportunities that I know there's no way in hell I could have managed to pull off what I did. I mean, how many guys you know who aren't pilots, who aren't a big wig or an officer, can say they spent 2+ hours flying the B-2 simulator? I did that. How many Air Force guys can say they've been to 400 feet deep in a ballistic missile submarine?
There you go.
And I don't.
Do us a favor.
Before
we run out of time, tell us about your latest book.
Oh, okay. I was thinking about that. It would be a good time. I just finished my 27th book. It's by Osprey. They're out of the UK. It is a hardbound, 382-page, 1,100 photographs covering 43 programs of 75 years of the Lockheed Skunk Works.
Oh my goodness!
And I'm just thrilled to death on it. And the original release was supposed to be February, first week of February of this year, but due to COVID and everything else, it's been pushed out to April 15th. Will be the release date. And it retails for $55 US, but if you go to Amazon, even though I'm not happy with Amazon right now, you get a really good discount. But there were 2 programs that I had stuff on that they told me that if I put them in the book, the books could not be on any Lockheed property because the photos that you would have published are still classified above secret. And that was on a program called Senior Prom, which was a advanced tactical cruise missile. Any photographs you see that have been published on the internet came from me. And those photos were given to me, those slides were given to me by Ben Rich. I met him in his office out there in Burbank after he retired. He had an office right across the street. And we were talking, went and had lunch, and we went back up his office, and he gave me this box of slides and said, really not classified as far as I'm concerned. I mean, the program is come and gone. But do me a favor, don't share these with anybody until 5 years after I'm dead. Because apparently he didn't want them to dig them up and scold them for giving me classified stuff, and it wasn't classified. And then I got hold of a 22-page handwritten notes describing the program. That part is in the book. It's just the photographs. And I wanted to do senior ice, which was the stealth bomber, the B-2 competitor by Lockheed, and I had what I thought was a representative, only one photo of their competitor for the advanced cruise missile. Not cruise missile, the advanced for the B-2 that Northrop got.
All right, make sure we get the exact title of the book.
The exact title is 75 years. Let me punch it up. I got the thing right here. 75 years of the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Forward by Jeff Babion, the Vice President and General Manager of Lockheed Martin Skunk Works. Introduction by Steve Justice, retired former Director of Strategic and Unmanned Programs at the Lockheed Skunk Works. And then there is my little thing about how did I get interested in airplanes? My intro. And then I cover 43 programs. Every program has at least 2 pages, a description, and then photos. Some have 20 pages or 15 pages. But I think I love the layout. The cover art is cool. It's black with a big red stripe down one side. All the illustrations, all the drawings, and all the photos that are in color will be in color. And the thing I love to do is I love to take photos that are been trashed, folded, bent, overexposed, underexposed, whatever it is, and I get on Photoshop, and I work to clean them up. I take all the scratches out, all the smudges, the fingerprints, the folds, and I try to make it look good. And that's the part I like about putting my photo. These are these are pictorial histories. And I start with the P-80 and go all the way up to the SR-72. But the most intriguing thing they have in there that Skunk Works is working on, and this is what they've told me, so I know they have a hell of a lot more than what I wrote. But they have a thing called their compact fusion reactor, and once it's been shrunk down small enough, they said it will. The information they have is on Rev 5. They said by the time they get to Rev 8 or Rev 9, the thing will be able to go into a 40-foot container and be able to power a city of 100,000 homes. It uses non-fissionable material. It can't be made into a dirty bomb. It can't go into a meltdown. It's a pretty incredible idea, and they've been working on this for quite a while. And the thought is, if once they get it down to the size of a 40-foot tractor and trailer, they can put it in wide body and have the electric motors instead of turbofans. Just put the big turbofans in the same nacelles and motors doing the same thing. They could fly forever and never have to land.
Yeah, that's wild.
That's insane.
Yeah, and Ben Rich, in another statement at UCLA, right after he retired, I'm trying to think when the hell he. I'm trying to find this quote, but he basically said, "We have technology that will eliminate fossil fuels. We have the ability to take ET home." Now just think about that for a minute. They have the technology to take ET home. That means traveling to the stars. That means whatever Bob Lazar said he was working on is real. I mean, it's just
It's
stuff
baffling.
is there, and
it is baffling. But the thing that's so baffling to me is it the case that petroleum companies, etc., coal companies, and their executives and stockholders hold so much power they can keep that stuff a secret from us? And I guess the answer is yes.
the executive order by President Trump also will release all the technology that has been kept secret, that we can have clean air everywhere. We can have clean water everywhere. We have the ability to go to the stars. We can cure diseases that have been killing people since the beginning of time. We can cure cancer.
Well, I hope he pardoned everybody who kept all that a secret.
Well,
I hope he did
gentlemen,
too.
we're down to our final 30 seconds here. Science Bob, another great show with you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Jim, it was just so great. I'm such a fan, and I've been waiting on your Lockheed book since we were in San Francisco together. I'm happy to hear it.
Okay.
And,
all right.
And Big Bad Jim,
I'm
always a pleasure to have you
Happy
here,
New
too.
Year.
Happy New Year to you, my friend. We'll see you guys soon.
It's my pleasure.
And
Anytime.
And we'll see you and talk with you guys soon. That's Science Bob Mcgwier. Dr. Mcgwier comes in once every month here to kind of break down the who, what, where, when, why, and how of everything we do that is non-woo. Yeah, he is the woo heartbreaker himself. Even has a T-shirt with that name on it. And thank you to James Goodall for coming on in and chatting with us about aviation, submarines. He is one of the best. You can find all his books on Amazon. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the thought of the day. Stay tuned. Spaced Out Radio continues right after this. Good job, guys. Let's give you a clap here.
Oh, that was fun.
I've never had that. I don't want to get it now. Not at my age. My dick would fall off. So.
Holy cow! Wow. Just right.
Oh, you're talking about an applause. Okay.
Right like that. Just boom, just like that.
Yeah, I always have a fun time with you.
We love you, man.
Anytime you need, if you get into a point where you need someone to jabber on for 2.5 hours, and I did all the talking, and I apologize for Bob.
No. There's no need for apology. That is exactly what I wanted.
Yeah,
so good.
I thought it was a great show.
You're not disappointed. I promise you, Jim. You did exactly what I wanted, and I knew all I needed to do was ask 3 questions, and it would do it.
Yeah. Now I was talking about Ben Rich, what he said at UCLA, and here's the quote: "We already have the means to travel among the stars, but these technologies are locked up in black programs, and it would take an act of God to ever get them out to benefit humanity. President Trump has ordered that technology to be declassified."
Well, let's hope that happens. Hope it happens. Gentlemen, I got to start getting ready for the news here, but thank you so much, guys. Fantastic show.
My pleasure.
I always have fun with you guys on. Thank you.
Take care.
All
Good night.
Let's do it again.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Right. Good night, guys.
Take care. Bye.
That was fun. Hey, Tommy Lee Ireland, drum us a song, man. Super Quest, good to see you. Science Bob Mcgwier, absolutely love him. Little pissed off he shaved off his beard. But the good news is he's going to send that beard to me. And we're going to put that beard up in the studio with the other beards. Hey, So Much Blue Line, how are you? Good to have you back. No, there was nothing fascist about what he said, so let's not make things up. There's nothing QAnon about what he said. Like I said, I don't have proof on that yet. I'm looking for it. But I don't play the QAnon fascist stuff here. Don't like that crap. Don't like that crap. I want to step into the squared circle with you, Cherry Pepsi Mike. You and me, squared circle, masks on. You know what? Just for that, hold on. I'm going to go get somebody for you. Didn't want to have to do this. Did not want to have to do this. But here we are. Here we are. You asked for it. It's El Ovni Volador. I've kicked Dave out. I am going to put you in a camel clutch and snap your back. That's what I'm going to do. Terrible times. What's going on? I am El Ovni Volador. I don't know who you're talking about, Canadian. I'm from Mexico. Chris Mo, how are you? Bob, I don't know who Dave is. I just threw some fat slug out of the showroom here. Who's Dave, Off-World Adam? I am El Ovni Volador. That is who I am. Don't know who this Dave character is. Just threw somebody out of the studio. Alan Moccasin, how's it going? Third, we're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is El Ovni Volador, and I'm glad each and every one of you are with us tonight. Want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Speaking of the news, let's do this. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes the medicinal. Researchers in the province of Alberta have found that certain cannabis strains may help prevent COVID-19 patients from experiencing acute respiratory distress. The University of Lethbridge says the virus can force some people's immune systems into overdrive to the point where the body can attack itself. In this case, smoking a little doobie will help the patient, in case they need to be put on a ventilator. But two doctors at the university suggest, the old hippie lettuce might just slow that process down or prevent it entirely. In this study, we have identified 3 extracts that are very, very good strains. Yes, this is more than just your grandpa's hippie lettuce. You know this. Anyways, those strains identified previous studies were also pretty good, said Dr. Olga Kovalchuk. Yeah, she said working on the research along with Dr. Igor Kovalchuk, and their study is currently undergoing in peer review. Altogether, we have 5 strains we could formulate a clinical trial on right now. We need a chance to bring it to the evidence-based medicinal realm. The next step for the study, besides getting high, is a clinical trial. The doctor duo is seeking partnerships and support to conduct a proper randomized control trial. That shouldn't be hard in Canada. To try and see whether the addition of these extracts diminishes the severity of COVID-19 pneumonia and the storm that happens before a patient develops ARDS. They are hopeful that this could result in a fewer COVID-19 hospital stays and related admissions. Olga says the specific strains she and Igor have identified seem to modulate the immune response and work to prevent the cytokine storm, which leads to ARDS, and then while maintaining some of the molecules needed to fight the virus. All right, so if you don't want COVID, start smoking pot. The devil's lettuce is no longer from the devil. Elon Musk's Tesla Roadster, still on that impressive tour around the solar system. The red electric car first launched into space on February 6, 2018, carrying a dummy called Starman on the unimaginable journey towards Mars. On Wednesday, nearly 3 years after the car first launched, the tracker, where his Roadster, showed the car had completed 1.9244 orbits around the sun with an orbital period of 557 days. The website shows how far it has gone in that time. It has traveled nearly 1.5 million miles, enough to outstrip the warranty over 40,000 times, and far enough to travel the world's roads 64 times. It's moving at a speed of nearly 72,000 miles per hour, reaching a fuel economy of 11,480 miles per gallon. The imminent milestone is a reminder of how far Elon Musk's spacefaring firm SpaceX has come. The car was launched on the maiden test voyage of Falcon Heavy, which ranks as the world's most powerful operational rocket. The design uses 3 engine cores from the Falcon 9, SpaceX's most commonly used rocket, to lift nearly 141,000 pounds into orbit. The rocket's first payload was rather unique. Starman sat in the driver's seat of Musk's electric car, fitted with the company's spacesuit. Emblazoned on the dashboard were the words, "Don't Panic," a reference to the Douglas Adams novel, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. There was a 5D quartz laser storage device produced by the Arch Mission Foundation that contained Isaac Asimov's Foundation book trilogy. The in-car sound system played David Bowie's Space Oddity on loop. If the dummy was a real person, it would likely be sick of that song right now. The website shows Starman would have listened to it nearly 300,000 times. Still a good song, though. I'm just going to say that. Okay. No one knows where we go when we die, but Microsoft may have an idea. See, last month, the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office granted a patent to Microsoft that outlines a process to create a controversial and conversational chatbot of a specific person using their social data. In an eerie twist, the patent says the chatbot could potentially be inspired by friends or family members who are deceased, which is almost a direct plot of a popular episode of Netflix's Black Mirror. In that episode, Be Right Back, a woman named Martha is upset with her partner Ash, dies in a car accident on the day they were supposed to move in with each other. It turns out one of Martha's friends had signed her up for a service that will let her communicate with Ash through text messages. Of course, it really isn't Ash, but a sort of AI-based version of him, suffice to say. That's where things get a little woo. According to the new Microsoft patent, images, voice data, social media posts, electronic messages, and written letters can all be used to create or modify a specific index in the theme of specific person's personality. From there, engineers can use the index to train a chatbot to convert like that person, yes, even if they are dead. Even creepier, to take it woo times 2, the application could also don the likeness of your dead loved one in a 2D or 3D model and utilize their voice while talking to you. Now, this sort of chatbot opens a whole can of worms when it comes to data rights and privacy to the Americans. Technically, we could and can recreate anyone online given enough data, Fahim Hussein says. But that opens up a Pandora's box of ethical implications. The question boils down to consent. Anyone who has access to data like text messages, photos, videos, and audio recordings from the deceased could theoretically create a virtual avatar of the person, even if they never agreed to such a thing while living. You could thank a lack of regulation in most countries surrounding post-mortem data. I would do that. I think I would do that. All right, let's continue here. Stephen Thomas has just 2 chances left to get his hands on over $240 million in fortune. The San Francisco-based computer programmer, and a decade ago, he was given 7,002 bitcoins as a reward for making a video explaining how the cryptocurrency works. At the time he was paid, they were worth about $2 to $6 each. He stashed them away in his digital wallet and forgot about them. Now each Bitcoin's worth around $34,000, and the contents of his wallet are valued at $240 million. But here's the problem. Thomas has forgotten the password that will unlock his fortune. German-born Thomas has already entered the wrong password 8 times. If he guesses wrong 2 more times, his hard drive, which contains his private keys to the Bitcoin, will be encrypted, and he will never see a dime. The price of Bitcoin hit more than $40,000 last week, having doubled in less than a month. It has since fallen back, but is still up by more than 700% since the pandemic was first declared in March last year, rising from about $5,000. Thomas said he has tried 8 most frequently used passwords to access his Iron Key hard drive, but all turned out to be wrong. The device auto-encrypts all contents after the 10th inaccurate guess. I would just lay in bed and think about it, Thomas said. Then I would go to the computer with some new strategy, and it wouldn't work, and I would be desperate again. Thomas said the experience has understandably put him off cryptocurrencies. The whole idea of being your own bank, let me put it this way, does make you own your shoes, he says. The reason we have banks is that we don't want to deal with all those things the banks do. Following the publicity of his plight, Alex Stamos, an internet security expert at Stanford Internet Observatory, said he could crack the password within 6 months if Thomas gave him a 10% cut of the digital fortune. It's $220 million locked up in Bitcoin. You don't make 10 password guesses, but take it to professionals to buy 20 Iron Keys and spend 6 months finding a side channel or uncapping, he said on Twitter. I'll make it happen for 10%. Call me. Cryptocurrency data from Chain Analysis said it is estimated that about 20% of the existing 18.5 million Bitcoins appear to be lost or stranded in inaccessible wallets. Go figure. It's hard to care about boot prints sunk in soil 238,900 miles away as humanity suffers the combined burden of an unforgiving virus and political unease, but how humans treat those boot prints and the historic lunar landing sites upon which they are found will speak volumes about who we humans are and who we seek to become. On December 31st, One Small Step to Protect Human Heritage in Space Act became law. As far as law goes, it's pretty benign. It requires companies that are working with the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, on lunar missions to agree to be bound by otherwise unenforceable guidelines intended to protect the American landing sites on the moon. That's a pretty small pool of affected entities. However, it is also the first law enacted by any nation that recognizes the existence of human heritage in outer space. That's important because it reaffirms one of our human commitments to protecting our history, as we do on Earth with sites like the historic sanctuary in Machu Picchu, which is protected through instruments like the World Heritage Convention, while also acknowledging that the human species is expanding into space. And this is kind of an interesting story. What do you think about this? It would be nice to think that a human community on the moon would be a collaborative multinational utopia, albeit in what Buzz Aldrin famously described as a magnificent desolation. The fact that people are once again racing one another to reach the lunar neighbor is justified. The U.S. Artemis project, which includes a goal of sending the first woman to the moon in 2024, is the most ambitious mission. Russia has reinvigorated its Luna program, setting the stage to put cosmonauts on the moon in the 2030s. However, in a race once reserved for superpowers, there are now multiple nations and multiple private companies with a stake. India is planning on sending a rover to the moon this year. China, which in December implemented the first successful lunar return mission since 1976, has announced multiple lunar landings in the coming years, with Chinese media reporting plans for a crewed mission to the moon within the decade. South Korea and Japan are also building lunar lanterns and probes. Such private companies as Astrobiotic, Masten Space Systems, and Intuitive Machines are working to support NASA missions. Other companies like iSpace, Blue Moon, and SpaceX, which also support NASA missions, are preparing to offer private missions, including for tourism. I think they should be protected too. It's just the way it goes. That's just me. But I am El Ovni Volador. Here's a cool one. A painting of a comic book hero Tintin that for years was kept folded in a drawer is about to go on sale at a Paris auction house on Thursday with an estimated sale price of more than 2 million euros. The painting is the work of Belgian illustrator Georges Remy, better known by his name or nom de plume, Hersch, or Hersch, if you want to pronounce it French. Probably got that wrong anyways, who was the author of the Tintin comic books. He died in 1983. Hersch submitted the painting for his editor as a proposed cover for the pre-World War II Tintin album, The Blue Lotus, according to the Arcturial auction house, but Hersch's publisher rejected the painting on the grounds that the colors chosen would make it too expensive to print. A different image was used for the cover, and the illustrator instead gave the rejected image as a gift to Jean-Louis Casterman, heir to the publishing house that published the Tintin books. The painting was kept by Casterman, folded in a drawer. Until his death, he declined offers to sell the work, saying he treasured it as a gift from Hersch, according to Eric Leroy, comic book expert at Arcturial. The work has never been before offered for sale, said Leroy. The estimate for the auction is set between 2.2 billion and 2.8 million euros. The image shows the intrepid young reporter Tintin in oriental dress and flanked by his dog Snowy, hiding in a vase from a rampant red dragon. The painting, in ink, watercolor, and gouache, still bears the marks where it was folded. It is the most beautiful item on the market in private hands, said Leroy. I wouldn't buy it. I think it's ugly. A cave used for storing beer in the 1800s has been rediscovered underneath a community garden in St. Louis. The Mcgwier, an English cave recovery team, said the beer cave was located in the Benton Park neighborhood in spring 2020, and the team used a pair of holes to get cameras into the underground cavern. We lowered a LiDAR unit down here to help map out the cave, and here is the approximate route of the cave. The cave is like 30 feet wide with a ceiling of 7 by 15 feet tall, Bill Krantz said. We're all out here in the alley jumping around like crazy. Krantz said the cave dates back to the early 1800s. It started out for storing ale. He then said that the cave was also home to a mushroom farm, a wine grotto, and a community gathering space. The discovery was hailed by St. Louis Alderman Dan Gunther. This was a brewery epicenter of the city in St. Louis because of all the caves, Gunther said. It really gives us an opportunity to reconnect with the past and hopefully step foot in a garden that hasn't been open for 100 years. And finally tonight, need a new job? How's this one? A U.S. website is offering $500 for an unusual short-term job, a professional binge watcher willing to watch Netflix and eat pizza. Of course, it's only made for Americans, but hey, us Canadians, we always get ripped off out of these things. Bonus Finder, a website dedicated to reviewing and offering deals for legal gambling sites, said the professional binge watcher will be called on to watch and review 3 series on Netflix while eating pizza takeout from various locations. The selected candidate will be required to review each series based on story and plot lines, Netflix and chill suitably, acting quality and cheesiness, satisfaction of episodes, and series endings. The person will also rate the pizzas they sample for appearance of color, base texture, and taste, top ingredient quality, flavor, cheese gooiness, and value for money. The professional binge watcher will be paid $500 to complete the tasks. I can't even do that in my town. I can't. We got 2 pizza shops. That's it. 2 pizza shops. Tonight, Marty. I believe there are underwater alien bases, but I also believe that the U.S., Russia, and perhaps China also have underground or underwater bases as well. So some of the USOs might be from those. Kev, it's all aliens. Always aliens. Revolution Radio. How about a mile-wide moving undersea dome? Well, that's kind of cool. We're thinking super secret undersea human habitat for military stuff, maybe. We think there are civilizations native in the deep also. Canadian Joe. Are they unidentified underwater balloons? Wow. Dominic believes they're UAP. 13 Ballad. Ghost submarines. There's no lack of sunken subs out there to produce a haunt from. Uriah. You don't hear much about the United Service Organization since Bob Hope died. That's funny. That is very, very funny. Let's move on here. Debbie thinks there's both. We have the help of alien technology since Roswell. Our advancement in technology in the government, Air Force, is part of what they shared with us, and no one publicly has seen anything yet. Does aliens work with the government? Yes. Many bases are underwater? Yes. All branches know and are involved. Nikki, underwater? Their tech. Humans haven't truly begun the underwater tech like the ETs. That's laughable. Space, different matter. Well, ever since I was shocked, I could locate underwater ET bases with the use of my body as a natural alien compass. I have always said, get me in a boat or a ship out on the water, and I'll locate those ET bases precisely for you. No joke. Philip. Well, he wants us to buy his book, so I'm not going to say that. Don't like that. Give us a thought of the day. Don't promote your book. Spudger. I think UFOs are USOs. Good point. Tim. Their tech. To move uninhibited underwater at a great speed defies the known laws of physics. Water at certain thickness is like a brick wall in strength. Kevin. Dang it, Dave. We all know the SS Minnow went somewhere, and it wasn't Mars. So let's talk about the real issue of alien hybrid shark technology. Not a hope. Oh, no. We are not going there. Look, the ocean is beautiful. Sure, there might be aliens there. Why not? But we do not have to go in the water. This is where you get killed. It's where you get killed, people. Them sharks, they want to eat you. They totally want to eat you. You are a food group. I look at me, I am a fine dining dinner for a shark. It's true. Davey, they are theirs. Still not sure who they are, but underwater submersible objects belong to them. And finally, from Penman, our underwater units can't fly. I don't get that. I don't get it. But thank you to everyone for participating in the Thought of the El-OVNI. We'll do it all again tomorrow because that's what we do at the back end of every show. On Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio and on Facebook on our personal Facebook page. So make sure you check it on out. We love to read your response. Also, a big thank you to Captain Shirk for getting the SOR Newswire up and running. You can find that at spacedoutradio.com or on its Facebook page. What is it? The SOR Newswire. Facebook.com/SOR Newswire. That's where you can go. And to both Science Bob, Dr. Bob Mcgwier, and the great author, aviation expert, James C. Goodall, for coming on in. Don't forget, you can find all of James's books by going to Amazon or any major...
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast-forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh, man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Good afternoon. Would you like to try a free sample of our double fudge brownie?
Oh, sure. That's very good. I'll just take one more, just to be sure. Yep, still very good.
Some things never change. Like never being able to take just one free sample. And Geico saving folks lots of money on their car insurance.
Is that macadamia nut I taste? Let me take one more.
Sir?
Yeah, I thought so.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.